Hello to everyone. It's nice to see so many people being interested in parcel tracking, which seems kind of a nerdy topic at first, but I think we can make it somewhat interesting. So my name is Kniel. I have Klaus Kiehne with me on stage. Maybe some words on us first. Like I said, I already said my name. I'm a former incident responder and pen tester. Now I'm back at studying again, and what I currently do, I'm searching and catching bugs, but not the bugs you're expecting now. It's more like bark beetles, which try to kill trees and basically eat them. Then we have Florian Bausch, which is grayed out because he just had the last talk. He's sitting here in front. He did a lot of work in the research process. We did it both together. And he's searching and finding bugs, but those are the bugs you are used to see all the time, or maybe not all the time, but at some points in time. And he's also a speaker at Troopers. Then, like I already said, Klaus Kiehne, he's IT systems architect at DHL, and he's the person that fixes bugs, and he also improves processes at DHL. So maybe first some words on how we got started with this topic. It was a tough time. It was Corona. We had it was quarantine time. We were staying at home and working from home, and we had a team event. And for this team event, we were thinking what we can do together, like on a remote basis. So we agreed to have a remote wine tasting. And I asked a friend of mine who has a winery, and he sent some wine to all of us in our team. It was like, I don't know, 12 to 15 parcels. And so we could try wine together online, and he held a presentation. And what he gave to us was the tracking codes for like all the parcels he sent to us. And the parcel tracking numbers looked a bit like this. The X's are just kind of grayed out, but they were all the same. And then you have the beginning part and the end part. And maybe some of you are able to find some kind of a pattern. We can make it a bit easier like this. As you can see, the first part is fixed. It's a prefix for the parcel tracking number. And we figured out that some senders have their own prefix. So if you send a lot of parcels and have some kind of business account, you will have a fixed prefix. The next part is an iterator. It just counts up. As you can see here, it just goes from 34 to 42, which is a nice number. And the last part is a checksum, which we were able to find the calculation online. It's public knowledge. It's just some kind of checksum where the numbers before get multiplied by something and added up and then divided by something. It's not that much, not that special, and it's not really secret. What are tracking numbers? What are they used for? I guess most of you already received a package in their life, and probably most of you have used the tracking. So they're used to track shipments, obviously. They have different formats. They have different lengths. They can have letters in it. They can have like all digits, quite different formats. They can represent different statuses for the packages, like the package is on the way, it got delivered, delivery failed, many more. You know it yourself, basically. They also link to the destination address, a recipient's name, and some more information. And then there's convenience features, which I will just skip a bit brief right now because we're going in detail a bit later. It's stuff like live tracking during delivery, preferred neighbors, drop-off locations. You can redirect packages to Packstation or parcel shops, and for example, decline acceptance and some more stuff. So when you look at a tracking, what you basically see as a public information, or basically saw back then, was a tracking history, which just shows timestamps and some information on the certain delivery steps. For example, that has been processed at the parcel center, or that it's been loaded to the delivery vehicle, or that it's in delivery right now, or that it got delivered. It's all in there. And you also get like a time frame when the delivery will happen. And for everything else, you will need to supply a zip code of the recipient to unlock more features and more data. So basically, the zip code unlocks everything we want to do or can do with the parcel. And what it unlocks a lot of, no, not a lot, but some interesting data. In this case, my name is the sender on the top. Then we have the recipient, which was the ERNW research GmbH in this case, and the delivery options to change the delivery. And we also had a live map, which shows where the DHL truck is currently at, and also where it's headed. So from this, we can get the exact address of the recipient, which is quite interesting. So the thing is, zip codes provide 5 digits, and we theoretically have 100,000 different combinations we have to try if we want to brute force this. So we checked on how zip codes work, and we found out that only around 28,000 zip codes are in use, which is still a lot. So we looked a bit deeper and found out that only like 8,000 zips are in use for normal addresses you have and you all know. And then there's like 20,000 zip codes which are used for special stuff like company zip codes. Then there are like event-based zip codes and yeah, all kinds of different stuff. But in this case, we are only interested in zip codes that are used for normal like residential areas, you could say. 8,000 is still quite a lot, so we thought, can we narrow it down even more with information that got provided to us? So we looked at the tracking again, and yeah, you need the zip code of the recipient, as I already said. And luckily, we found an interesting hint here, because it gave us, the tracking gave us the name of the parcel center where the package will be delivered from. And that basically narrows it down to some kind of geographic region. From there, we had to look deeper into how delivery from DHL works. So we looked at the map and found some maps about parcel centers and the corresponding zip codes that are served by these. On this map, you can see Speyer there, which is our example parcel center, and also some kind of area which they serve. Interestingly enough, there are some parcel tracking nerds online already. There's the website called paket.de. And what they do, you can give them a zip code, and they will give you the corresponding parcel center for it. So we went through it. We took the list of all zip codes that are used. We ran it through Paketa and got a list of all parcel centers corresponding to we got each sorry. For each zip code, we got the corresponding parcel center. So we now had a list with all zip codes and all parcel centers that they belong to. This is what we had before. And now we found out that on average, a parcel center serves like 227 zip codes. And for Speyer, for example, it was only 128. So in this case, we got a bit lucky. But 128 is still, I don't know, if you want to automate it, it's quite good already. But we thought we might be able to improve it a bit more. And what we did, we got ourselves some census data. And what the census data gives us is a raster of Germany. And it gives us the number of residents in each raster spot. So that's already quite helpful. But there's also something better, because there's another website for people that are nerdy about zip codes and stuff, which is suchepostleitzahl.org. And what they gave us, yeah, it's quite curious. And what they gave us is a list of zip codes and the corresponding population. And you might have already guessed what we're trying to do here. We're going to try the most populated zip codes first, because we just assumed where more people live, more packages get delivered to. So we simulated it, assuming that yeah, every person orders the same number of packages every year. And we found out that around 50% of the packages, the zip code can be guessed correctly after 50 tries. So after 50 zip codes, trying an error, just typing them in, and getting denied a few times. And after 50 tries, we get like 50% of the packages already, which is quite good, and doesn't really need automation if you don't want to automate it, because 50 can be done by hand already. There was one thing that was a bit annoying. It was some kind of bot detection, which tried to stop us from doing what we were doing. DHL is using Akamai. I guess most of you know it's one of the, or maybe the largest CDN out there. And the thing is that the brute force detection or the bot detection doesn't really help here, because we're already down at like 50 tries, and that can be done by hand. And brute force detection needs some more brute to detect it. The open source intelligence we already gathered allowed for really efficient guessing. And to make it a bit harder to detect us, we did just slow it down a bit, did fewer tries, implemented some short sleep calls, and we used some kind of undetectable Selenium driver which circumvents detection. Why undetectable in quotation marks? It's just because it will be detected at some point, and then they will make it undetectable again, and it will get detected again, and so on. You get the point. So just to sum it up how we got here, where we are now, We have iterable tracking numbers. We can just count them up and discover new ones. So once we have one tracking number from some company, we can just take their prefix. We know one tracking number, and we can just iterate them up, calculate the checksum, and get new packages. For these packages, the zip codes are used as secrets, which is already not that good security-wise. We have some hints on the zip code. We know the destination parcel center. We have infinite tries. And there's some kind of reliance on bot detection, which we can circumvent by some tricks. About the impact, what can be done with this technique? It's quite efficient for data gathering. We can do it sender-specific by counting up on a sender's prefix, or just take random parcel numbers we get from somewhere and count all those up and down and jump around. Maybe we can try to figure out some other prefixes by just guessing and just trying to get valid tracking numbers and gather some data. What this can be done for, if we're doing it targeted, we can try to estimate sales numbers. So if someone ships via DHL and we see the tracking history with timestamps, we know how many packages they sent in a time frame. We can try to estimate shopping behavior. If we have like an online pharmacy and someone regularly orders there, we can assume that they have maybe some kind of medical condition, or at least regularly order at an online pharmacy. What we can also try to do is estimation of customer demographics. For example, if a shop usually delivers to some district which is known for whatever, we could try to figure out demographics. And some more stuff. I think when you gather all the data, you can later think about what you can do with all this data and how you can just analyze it. Then there's some possibilities to manipulate the delivery process. So what can be done here? We can give preferred locations or drop-off locations. So we order something at a shop that sells high-value goods. We count the tracking numbers up. We check where the parcels are going, and we just tell them to just drop them somewhere. Go there and pick them up. Then there's the possibility to give a preferred neighbor. We could also give a preferred neighbor and go there and say, hey, it's me, I'm the preferred neighbor, just give me the package. Not sure if this will work, but it was something we thought of. And you could also decline acceptance, which might seem a bit useless at first, but if you take a shop, enumerate all the tracking numbers from them and just decline acceptance for all the packages before they get delivered, the customers are going to be really angry. And to get back to the example of an online pharmacy, they might also get into trouble for this, because if they are waiting for medication or something, that might be an issue too. And also here we have like a lot of other stuff that might be interesting. The problem with the shared secret here is that the customer of DHL is not the recipient, but the customer is the sender. And the sender has a business relationship with DHL, and DHL knows the sender, and the sender knows DHL. And DHL doesn't need to know the recipient, they will just ship it there. And that's also what Klaus Kiehne is going to talk about in a few minutes, because that's a key issue, how it got to this point. So in general, is a zip code as a shared secret a bad idea? Yes, it is. If you give hints on the destination, if it unlocks sensitive information, or if it unlocks delivery options, so basically if it unlocks anything that's sensitive and needs to be protected. So using something as a secret that shouldn't be used for protection of something, so basically it's most of the time not that good of an idea, at least if it's implemented like this. So as Fabian already said, we had a disclosure process with DHL, and we had some reactions we want to outline here a bit. So at first it was really hard to find a contact person. We tried the usual support @ email address, we tried the imprint, we tried just calling them, and we tried just calling them, and we got to the first level customer service, and they didn't really know what we were talking about. And the thing is, it was hard until we tried to find a job, because we found some job postings online, which was for some IT security positions, and in there we found the phone number of the CISO actually. So, so we gave him a call, and it was him who picked up, and we just talked to him and said, hey, I think we found an issue here, and he was all ears, and we could just tell him what we found. We sent everything over, and at first DHL referred to technical measures that prevented what we are trying to do. This was due to the fact that we didn't automate it back then. We just said, okay, the process is flawed. We outlined every step and said there's an issue. We didn't automate it yet, but we could. And then the technical measures somewhat referred to the bot detection. So what we did, we created a video POC we automated it, then created a video of it, sent it over to DHL, and very soon got a positive reaction, so they directly came back to us and really quickly implemented first measures. So the first measure they implemented is that they don't show the destination parcel center in the tracking anymore, which is a really quick win because it really limits what we can do and is really not that hard to implement. Since then, the attack surface got fairly limited. Last week, it got limited even more because they had changed something else I'm going to talk about in a second. And in general, the cooperation was really, really good, as you might have guessed that since Klaus Kiehne is with me on stage. So some problems are left. So if we look at it, we have to cross out the quick things. We don't have 227 parcel centers or 128 in the case of Speyer anymore. We now have like 8,000 zip codes we have to try again. But only if the destination and the source parcel center are not the same. This is a bit tricky because if the destination parcel center and the source parcel center are the same, you have another tracking, so you can see it, because normally in the tracking, if I send something from Speyer to from Heidelberg to Freiburg, it goes from Heidelberg to the parcel center in Speyer, from the parcel center in Speyer to Lahr, and from Lahr it gets delivered to Freiburg. And if you send it from Heidelberg to Heidelberg, for example, it just stays in Speyer. And the tracking will not tell you that the package arrived in the source parcel center, it will just directly tell you it's arrived in the destination parcel center. And if you know where the package was sent from, so you know some shop, let's name it ERNW, sends from Heidelberg, you know they're sent from Speyer, you take one of their parcel numbers, you enumerate others, and you always know the destination one. And if you find the tracking where you don't have the source parcel center and only the destination, you know that it stayed in Speyer and can try the technique we already outlined back. So that's still kind of an issue. But there's also something else, like I said, another measure that makes also this a bit harder. In general, maybe for a secure process, like really, really basic, what does a secure process do? It uses secure secrets. It only shows information which is really needed, because the part of the parcel centers which are involved in the tracking, they're not needed for anyone without authentication, and even with authentication, might not be that important if you receive a parcel in which parcel center it was handled. And also, it does not rely on bot detection for security, since if it's secure by design, bot detection is not necessary, usually. How does a good disclosure process look like from our point of view? It gives it a contact person, preferably in a security.txt, which DHL didn't have back then, but now they have, which is really nice. And it gives feedback, so they talk to us and let us explain the issue maybe deeper, ask questions, or just tell us, yeah, we know it's an issue, we are fixing it. And the best part is if they fix it quickly. Also, the best thing is if they join you and talks about the issue, which also improves the process quite a lot. Some words on a perfect bot detection. A perfect bot detection does not really exist. It's also not needed, because if your process is secure in the first place, you don't need to slow people down. It might just hide problems without preventing them, and however, it can be used to limit scraping and people just spamming and scraping data and just gathering it. But for a secure process, you don't really need it to stop exploitation. You can use it to slow things down. You might ask, how about others? We are here talking about DHL only. The only thing I can say here is to stay tuned, because there's more to come. I can't say much more about it now, but there will be some interesting facts in the future. So I would say, let's head over to Klaus Kiehne and let's see the point of view from the blue side.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here. As Dennis already introduced me, I'm from DPDHL. In fact, I'm from the German part of DPDHL, which is called Post und Paket Deutschland. And as a first impression, not everybody might know us. I don't want to tell about all these numbers, but we are about nearly 200,000 employees in Germany, and we bring letters and parcels to everybody in Germany, which is about 48 million letters and a little bit more than 6 million parcels each day. Yes, quite huge company, and yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of other infrastructure needed for this. Dennis already mentioned the sorting centers, 38 for parcels, 82 for letters. So we could even do something similar with letters, where the zip range is even smaller. Within this 190,000 employees, we have a quite small IT organization, which are about 700 people, and when we do mainly organizing IT, most real work is done by suppliers. Unfortunately, I would like to have more within the company. And we have overall around 400 different IT applications which are highly coupled, sometimes also loosely coupled from a technical point of view. And with the systems, we all support all our processes internally, but we also provide interfaces to customers, whether the senders or receivers of letters and parcels, of course. Within this organization, there's a small group which cares about IT security. We have a group-wide CISO, but we also have a chief IT security officer for the Post and Parcel Germany, for the German division, which cares about all processes and controls and follows the standards as defined by ISO 27000. And also focuses with security questions on the availability and stability of IT applications, and defines as governance organization some rules what we always have to do and to implement for security. That just as introduction to know, and I can really good understand that it's hard to find the correct contact within our company to address such a finding as Dennis explained. To the concrete affected use case, well, most things are also already mentioned. Probably it's good to know we have this shipment tracking service, which is in fact provided by two different systems, one from our local division, and there's another one from the group-wide service, which allows tracking also of international packets and parcels of other divisions like DHL Express. But this service, the German one, is mostly accessed via our website or our mobile app. Shows parcel data for all parcels of the last 3 months, which is half a billion in that roundabout. And it gets about up to 80 million requests per day, which is, if you have some similar an equal distribution, it would also be 1,000 a second, and it's not equal over the day, of course. Of course, we should provide the details of shipments only to legitimate parties, and we provide within the details confidential data, which falls under GDPR, and additionally also partially under the German postal law. So we have to really be careful. And it was quite good to get your input. For the concrete part of this tracking, as Dennis already said, there is an interest to get the details, and we have also this modification options, which are quite useful sometimes. But as I already said, the data is confidential, and we don't have any contract to the recipient. Our customer is the sender. Sometimes we really know the recipient, and he is also registered for special services at us, and we can correlate this. But most times the recipient isn't, and for that reason, authorization is quite difficult, and it can only be granted based on shipment details, which are known to us and known to the recipient. And we talk about which are known to us. Of course, we know the address within the data. Sometimes we really know the name of the recipient, but not in general, since this is not always given within the data we have about all the parcels. Additionally, the tracking IDs Dennis was talking about looks like they are unique, but they are unique. They should be unique for at least 1 year. Sometimes, due to errors, they are even less unique. So what do we do to protect this? Well, there are the general measures mentioned here about encryption, authentication. Before we deploy anything, we do different checks. We have agents running within our systems which monitors any known vulnerability, even newer than after deployment known, or is there unusual behavior. And this is given in general because it comes as governance rules. But we also have for the tracking service some protection implemented, as already mentioned. We use Akamai as content delivery network, which gives a first level of protection, and only Akamai can reach out to our origins. This provides us DDoS and DOS protection and recognition and reporting about this. We have, of course, web application firewalls, bot recognitions, always in a passive way. In this case, there's also an active bot recognition, which really tries to see, is this really a human being acting on some kind of browser. For that reason, it was probably only with this undetectable driver possible to get this attack automatic running. Nevertheless, as we've seen, it's not sufficient. It's useful for a first level, but as with most security levels, you have always to think to have at least 2 levels of defense. There are some more specific measures here, but I mostly want to focus on the concrete findings from Dennis and ERNW. At first, about the tracking IDs and the enumeration of this. Yes, this is given, and it unfortunately has to stay. This is an industry standard. It depends partly on international rules, e.g. defined by the Universal Post Union. And there are a lot of different implementations within the industry with our customers, which just depend on this and can't be changed easily. It's well known that there are some problems about this, but nevertheless, we can change this. Nevertheless, what was the first reaction after our CISO reached out to me. We removed all the hub names, so in the public part of information, you won't get any further information. Where is the parcel in the moment, or which way did it take? You get all this information only if you already provided the zip code. And what took a little bit more time for implementation, we have this in fact available in production since last week, is that we have a time lock after exceeding a threshold of non-matching requests. So if you provide 3 times the wrong zip code, you will be locked out for, I think, 20 minutes. And this is not related to IP address or session or client. This is related to the single tracking number, so to the parcel. So it doesn't depend whether you use any kind of distribution. Of course, you can lock out anybody else, but this is acceptable. And yes, we are always trying to get these security measures better. So there are additional measures, and we are still implementing further security features. Well, but I'm not allowed to talk about all of this. So finally, what's the outcome from our point? At first, we highly welcome this kind of responsible disclosure. Dennis, Florian, and Aaron Weg came to us, reported this to us. We had a very helpful discussion in a very cooperative way. And this was really good. So for that reason, thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Florian, in the name of DPDHL and specifically in my name. Unfortunately, I can't provide any bug bounty, but that's the other point. What we finally achieved, which was also triggered by this input, we provide now a well-known security text where each security researcher will have the first look for to find a contact. You can have a look at our web pages, but here's the content also. And we're in the process to start a bug bounty program. Currently it's private, so only specific researchers are invited to participate. But as I've heard, there's more to come, and also stay tuned. So thank you. That's my part of it, but the most thanks are for Florian and, of course, for Dennis. Nochmal, danke.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have time for maybe one question. Afterwards, Klaus Kiehne will also be outside for further questions because we have a short schedule. But yeah, okay.
Hi, thank you for the talk. My name is Matthias. I think that this could be also used for fraud use cases, redirect packages to others. Did you, by any chance, check if others abuse that too, if you're able to answer that question? Thank you.
Hard to answer. I'm not aware about a real attack against this. we see a lot of different attacks and curious traffic and curious requests if we look deeper into also security monitoring, and that's exactly what I'm doing sometimes. Also because I'm just curious to understand, but there is no general allowance for rerouting. If you we provide a service to reroute your parcel, but you can't reroute it to any address. But if you want it not at the initial address, you can say, well, send it to a parcel locker or send it to one of the DHL shops. And there we will check before we hand it out that it's the right recipient. So it's not so easy to reuse this rerouting. We've seen with what's the English name? Digitale Annahmeverweigerung.
For declining acceptance.
Thank you. Declining for acceptance. There we've seen some problems when we introduced this, but this mostly resulted from bad UX, and for that reason, that customers accidentally reclined this.
Okay, so one more, and then I think we have to move on.
So thanks at first for the talk. Was great. I'm working for a major cloud provider, and we have this problem very often, and we usually consider like rate limiting for this kind of problem when you have like brute forceable or guessable things. Did you consider rate limiting as well as a classic form of mitigating control?
Yes, we also have rate limiting, but this specific case relates really to single parcels, and so if you implement a rate limiting, in fact that's exactly what we did, but we need to implement it on the business object, not on any kind of infrastructure information. Of course, we look if there is any IP creating too much requests, if there are unusual user agents, and this might also trigger some kind of rate limiting, but this is more it's a technical perspective. This specific case shows most times the technical perspective, which can easily be changed from an attacker, shouldn't be this identification measure to where I put rate limiting on. So I really need to look at business objects.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, so as mentioned before, you can still talk to Klaus outside if you want to talk about DHL in general or something more about those findings. So thanks again, and yeah.